So what do you have to say about this? I really don't know. Today's conversation is about religion and politics. That lovely one that splits families in two and causes so much disruption and causes so much anger. But it's an honest discussion we need to have. Do we really need religion and politics? Now, the obvious one that everybody always points to is saying, well, the Middle East, the Middle East. Well, let's look at it from this perspective. We stay in liberal democracies, the UK, Europe at large, supposedly the United States, where you have the freedom of choice of religion, of a lot of things. But as of late, all we've been seeing is really a push by the right wing to use religion as their battle cry, to use Christianity as their battle cry, to be more blunt. And to what purpose? Because we're standing here today, and what do we see? We see the United Kingdom march, where Tommy was standing on stage and all of his acolytes talking about Christianity being under attack and we need to bring back Christ into the UK. And then we see the evangelicals in the US standing around a table with their hands laid on the president, ushering in or saying he's ushering in the return of Christ. In which world are we living that that is acceptable? In which world are we living that hatred is the core fundamental use of Christianity, of what Christ taught? Because we're not talking about believing in God, we're saying Christianity. And that is something that is so far opposed to what it's being used for. Correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't the Bible talk about Christ saying, love thy neighbor? Doesn't the Bible have the Beatitudes? Didn't Christ specifically talk about a wealthy man and a needle of an eye? So where are we in this whole prosperity gospel thing? And then also using Christianity as a battle cry for the right wing to marginalize other people, to marginalize other religions. That is not what I as a Christian sign up for. Not in any state would it be acceptable to say, well, your religion is worse than mine, or is inferior to mine, and therefore you should just do what mine says. That's a theocracy. That's what apparently the supposed democracy battles and wars of the past have been about. And that's what this regime change in Iran was all about, or supposed regime change. So don't get me wrong, but theocracies are wrong in any way. And oppressing people for religion and forcing your religion onto others is wrong. So I'm not standing here saying, oh, yes, we need to be on the side of a country like Iran. No, I'm saying if you want to be against that, you also have to be against that kind of talk in your own country. Tommy Robinson is not a Christian. Let's just get that out of the way firstly. Neither is Nigel Farage. Do you see the fruits of the Spirit in their lives? I don't see that. Do you see any fruits of the Spirit in any of the people on the right wing at the moment? No. And that's what we should be judged on, the fruit of the Spirit. Do you display the fruit of the Spirit? Tommy, a convicted criminal, it's on record, was going across borders not with his own passport. So that is a fighting aged man crossing borders illegally. Yet he has the audacity to come and tell us, oh, we can't accept people who are actually fleeing persecution and fleeing war. But I don't see him fleeing war or persecution. He's able to walk free. He's able to say what he wants to say. The only time he's been convicted for saying certain things is because he contravened what a judge told him not to do. He was not supposed to say certain things, and that was against a judge's order. So his free speech was never stood on or taken away from him. He still has his platform. Nigel, don't even get started on that man who stood in front of a poster, the Breaking Point poster, and then says, no, Brexit was not about race. If you look at all the candidates that they're putting up for their elections, how many are being caught for racism? That's a clear contradiction of what's in the Bible. Sexism. We could even go into the people who painted the roundabouts last summer and see how many of them have convictions for domestic abuse. We can also see how many of them have convictions for that big word that starts with a P. And they are the ones who say we have to protect our women and children. From who? From them. We can't just put our head in the sand and say that these people are speaking for Christ or for us. They're grifters. They're using religion for their own self-enrichment and a power grab. And if you believe in them, you have to start questioning your faith. And you have to start questioning what you stand for. And yes, there will be those who say, oh, liberal lefty. Yeah, then I'm a liberal lefty. I'm happy to say that. Why? Because the values that I'm taught by Christ are way more left-wing than what is being used by Reform or MAGA or Tommy or any of those other R parties that's out there. Just think about the people that are on the calling cards for these right-wing supporters. We have one who is a convicted criminal for fraud, immigration, violent offenses in some instances. Then we have a leader of a party who has allegations of anti-Semitic behavior, who has stood in Parliament, the European Parliament, parroting the same talking points, but allegedly not for money, like his deputy who is imprisoned for parroting those same talking points and paid for by the Russians. And then we have across the pond the leader who is on record saying you should grab women by the, let's leave that word blank there, who has had multiple extramarital affairs, who has had to pay off a adult star while his wife was pregnant. A man who has got close ties with, well, let's face it, Epstein was convicted, even for a minor case, of soliciting some things from underage girls. These are the people that the right wing are worshipping or idolizing. And we can go into more of those people on the right wing that's being caught out now. There's now a case in the USA of IFB people, the thuggers. We can go into cases here in the UK where A lot of close associates to Tommy had some dubious histories. We don't see the protesting about that. We don't see the marches to protect our women and children against those people. So let's be honest here. This use of Christianity is a use for racism. It's a use for fascism. And if you're offended by it, so be it. If you're not, welcome aboard. This channel won't always be about this kind of things. It will also be about discussions about sports, about roads, about life in general. But this is one that has been on my mind for a while, and I just can't sit back idly and see Christ being dragged into a racist agenda and an agenda for a right wing that wants to marginalize other people. So until next time, ciao.